We're going to go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is try to spend about 35 to 40 minutes going through a whole bunch of ideas for public relations for Pick.Click.Give. I have owned my own PR firm for about 16 years, and I have about 26 years of public relations experience in Alaska. I also was the director of public relations for one of the agencies in Anchorage for about 10 years. And I've been working with Pick.Click.Give from the very beginning. I helped to organize the press conference when Governor Sarah Palin signed Pick.Click.Give legislation into effect, and I was the marketing contractor for about 5 years. That was the time before there was actually a program manager for Pick.Click.Give, and just contractors were running it with assistance from the Rasmussen Foundation staff. So very familiar with the Pick.Click.Give program. When Heather Beatty resigned in March last year, I jumped in and took over as the interim program manager, so you may recognize me from some emails that you've received from me. And I continued to do that job through the summer until Jason came on in October. So yeah, I think it took about 2 days of training and Jason was up to speed and ready to go. So I'm still here to support Jason as needed, but you're all in good hands with the new program manager, and I think you're going to be pretty excited with the stuff that Jason and I are going to share with you today, and hopefully help you to have a really good, successful campaign heading into 2016. So today we're going to talk about what is public relations. I think most everybody knows what it is, but the definition is a little fuzzy sometimes. And then I'm just going to talk about a whole bunch of ideas that I have for ways that you can build the relationships that you should be building in terms of your Pick.Click.Give donors and all the people that need to know that you are a participant in this program. I'm going to talk a little bit about media relations and some ideas on that front, and social media. I'm going to touch on the toolkit, which is the kit of all kinds of items that we put together at Pick.Click.Give that you can use for your public relations efforts, and then I'll leave some time for question and answers at the end. And again, there's a mute button. You should have the screen sharing GoToMeeting control panel on your screen if you're on by computer. If you could go ahead and mute yourself so that we don't get background noise, that would be great. So what is public relations? It's funny because I've worked in this field for 25 years and it seems like the definition changes all the time, but I think you don't really have to have a formal definition, but think about it as just all the ways that you're communicating and building relationships with all of your publics. So that could be your employees, your board of directors, your donors, your clients, pretty much everyone who interacts with your organization. And you need to have open two-way relationships with all of those audiences, and public relations is what makes that happen. So you may not think that you're doing PR right now, and you might be really small and not have a public relations or a communications director, but you really are doing PR every day. Just think about it as all the ways that you're touching with your audiences, and all of that really is PR. If you don't do anything else following this webinar, I hope that you'll go and inventory all the ways that you already are interacting with your audiences, and check to make sure that there is a Pick.Click.Give presentation or a presence in all of those touches. So sometimes it's just thinking, have we remembered to push Pick.Click.Give in all of the things that we're doing with our audiences? So let's talk about some specific ideas, and I just want you to keep your organization in mind as we go through these. Everybody in your organization, whether it's board of directors or whether it's your staff or just you, if it's just you, you should have something in your email signature so that every time you send somebody an email, you're reminding them that we are a Pick.Click.Give agency. And we have artwork that you can use for this, or you can come up with your own, but that's just something that's really easy to do, and people are constantly reminded. They always say now that to get an idea into somebody's head, they have to see it 7 or more times. So that's a great way to just continually keep reminding people we are a Pick.Click.Give organization. If you have a recording on your phone when people are calling into your agency and they're put on hold, there's something that you could do, just a little message about, did you know we participate in Pick.Click.Give, this is what we do with the money, you know, just different reminders on that, and a lot of times that's something that people don't think about. Business cards, letterhead, all the background materials that you have that your staff is using, all of that could have a little Pick.Click.Give logo on it. It doesn't have to be anything more than it just having the little logo on it so that people know, oh, I didn't know, I could give to them through Pick.Click.Give. And then look at your website. Hopefully you have one, and if you have a website, make sure that there's a presence for Pick.Click.Give. A lot of the agencies that I've seen have actually a page about Pick.Click.Give on their own website. You should probably link to our Pick.Click.Give, which is www.pickclickgive.org. No spaces, no dots. You should be linking to our page so that if people want more information about Pick.Click.Give, they can go back and forth. So just look at all the pages on your website, make sure that there's a presence there. Social media. If you have a Facebook account, an Instagram, a Twitter, make sure that as you calendar what you're going to talk about in social media, that you have some regular updates about Pick.Click.Give. Make sure that you share deadlines, when you can get more information about what you're doing with the money that you're receiving through Pick.Click.Give. There also should be something like on your main Facebook page that says we are a participating Pick.Click.Give organization. And anytime that you need artwork that you don't see in our toolkit, just let us know and we're happy to give it to you or create it in a format that you can use. Building signage. A lot of people haven't thought about this, but if you're in a location where there's a lot of people walking by or driving by, just putting up a sign that says Pick.Click.Give to us or whatever your slogan might be is a really great idea. If you're going to events and putting up banners, you can always have the Pick.Click.Give logo on that banner. And if you're involved in trade shows or other displays or things like that, make sure that you have a Pick.Click.Give presence at those. Your brochures, postcards, all the collateral that you're sending out. Also, just remember to remind people that you're participating in Pick.Click.Give. Trucks and vehicles is another one. If you have any vehicles that are wrapped or that have your logos or what you're identifying on it, maybe you want to put something on there, remember us when it's time to Pick.Click.Give. And in your advertising, I see a lot of agencies putting out advertising, and maybe it's an advertisement for something completely unrelated to Pick.Click.Give, but if you put something down in the very bottom corner that says we are a Pick.Click.Give agency or something like that, it's just another reminder to people that when they go to file for their PFD that they can keep you in mind. So some other PR tactics that we've used here at Pick.Click.Give that you as a nonprofit also could employ, and we are here to help you with that. If you need just some help with editing or writing or talking points or anything like that, we can certainly help you. Writing a guest editorial, if you have a local newspaper and they have the ability to write a guest column, they usually need to be a little bit opinionated, but that's usually not a problem. You can come up with something that you think is important in your community or for your agency, and just in there somewhere in the guest editorial mention Pick.Click.Give and what you do with the money that you're receiving and why it's important for people to keep you in mind when they go to file for their PFD. If you're involved in any organizations or have the opportunity to set up a speaking engagement, whether it can be anything, civic organizations, just at your local church or whatever, if you can mention that your organization is part of Pick.Click.Give, it's just one touch with somebody else that might be thinking about you, down the road when they're online and starting to pick who they're going to give money to. So just make an announcement during a meeting if you have the opportunity to do that. Another thing that I think a lot of us don't think about is asking our corporate sponsors. So many of you have relationships with companies, big and small, that are supporting you. And if you can encourage them to remind their employees, whether that's a note inside their pay stubs, or whether that's an inter-office mail or in some kind of an intranet or something like that, if you don't ask, they're probably not going to do it, but you'd be amazed how many times if you just ask them, would you be willing to mention us and the fact that we're part of Pick.Click.Give, a lot of times they're willing to do that. And we also have had many corporate sponsors who have agreed to match Pick.Click.Give donations. So I know Exxon did that. What a great way to double the money that you're raising. So try to think about who you're working with as far as your development people, and is there somebody out there that might be willing to do a double dividend, and that's just going to incentivize people to give to you more if they think that, hey, for every $10 I give, they're going to get 20. Blog posts, if some of you have the ability to blog, just telling your story or sharing, I think that's a great way to just sort of get the word out. Video also is incredibly effective, and it doesn't have to be a big produced video. If you just got some little snippets of donors telling why they gave or how they benefited from donations or how much it meant to them, and put those up on your Facebook page or up on your website, those are really compelling. People are always looking for videos. Make sure that it's mobile friendly. I think it's all up to now about 70% of the people who are getting an email from you are reading it on their phone. So make sure that if you're sending things out that they are mobile friendly. And you can just test that on yourself and look at it on your phone and make sure that it's right. Another thing that you might consider is if you order giveaways on a regular basis, whether that's pens or magnets or cell phone accessories, whatever you give away at trade shows or to your donors or whatever, make sure that you have a Pick.Click.Give reference on those. And then just think about the events that you're going to be putting on over the next few months or participating in, and where should you have a Pick.Click.Give presence. Bank signs, Walgreens signs, the local bulletin board at the post office. We've done some really innovative things at Pick.Click.Give, like doing a presentation at the Aces game at halftime. Spinard Builder Supply has signs all over the state, and they've been very supportive. You just have to ask, and you need to do these things a month or two in advance. I think they schedule them out at least a couple of months in advance, but find out who your supporters are, where they have a really big presence, like a reader board or something like that, and ask them to promote your organization. I think Spinard Builder Supply has put up Pick.Click.Give notices on, I don't know, 10 or 15 different organizations here in Anchorage that were specific. So remember us at Pick.Click.Give and Make-A-Wish or whoever it was. And really that's just the people that are calling them and asking, can you put us up on your sign, are the ones who are getting those spots. The Sullivan Arena here in Anchorage also has been very supportive to us and putting messages up during events that are happening at Sullivan Arena. So think about in your community, and if you're in a smaller community, where are people going to get their information? And if it is the post office bulletin board, you should be there, or in the grocery store, or wherever that is. And I want to talk a little bit about timing now. In the past, we've always counseled our organizations that your push for Pick.Click.Give really should be December and January. As you know, people start filing for their PFD on January 1st, and the deadline is March 31st. And the majority of people who were Pick.Click.Giving were doing it in the first 6 weeks of January, beginning of February. That changed a little bit this last year. It was spread out almost evenly, one-third, one-third, one-third in January, February, and March. There was a little bit of a surge at the end, a lot of procrastinators for whatever reason in March. I think people are getting used to the timeline for, they know that it's going to work to go online and to file for their PFD, so they're not so anxious to get it done early. So the timeline for your campaign for Pick.Click.Give really probably should adjust a little bit from what we've advised you in past years. I think you still have to have a push in February, and you really have to do a push those last 2 weeks of March to get those procrastinator people. So don't just assume that if you've done a really good push in end of December and beginning of January that your job is done, because I think really the campaign now needs to be spread out completely across the entire PFD filing period. And we last year actually did a little extra push for our promotions at Pick.Click.Give because of the change, and it was very different for us. So we'll be adjusting our campaign this coming year to take that into account. So media relations, I just want to caution you that public relations is not media relations. I know that our bosses who don't do communications are always telling us, well, we should do a press release about that. And I always argue, well, is there a reason to do a press release, and is media the best way to get our word out? Because now there's so many other ways to do it. But media relations still is important. Just remember that it's just one tool in the toolbox, and it's probably less important than ever. I think that people are getting their information in lots of different channels, and not necessarily everybody getting a newspaper at their doorstep or watching the evening news with TiVo and everything. People are much more selective as to where they're getting their information. So you have to be everywhere, and media is just one of those spots. So how many of you are doing a news release announcing, if you were a participant in Pick.Click.Give last year and you just got your check, did you do a press release that said, this is how much money we got, and explain what you're doing with it? I think that's just a really simple little thing that everybody should be doing. So whenever there are certain things that happen for Pick.Click.Give, remind your donors, remind your potential donors that, hey, the PFD filing period starts on January 1st, and don't forget to think of us when you're choosing who to Pick.Click.Give. You can make sure that media know what's going on with your organization by sending out a media advisory, and to me that's just a who, what, when, where, why, and try to get the media to cover events that your organization's involved in. Sometimes it's as easy as just taking a really good picture with a cut line, and maybe that's something that you're doing with the money that you raised through Pick.Click.Give, and there's somebody that benefited from it that's willing to tell their story, and you don't have to do a big press release and do the whole story for them. Do a really nice just explanation of a picture, and send that to media. And a lot of times they'll turn around and just use that. You can also put that out on your Facebook page or on Twitter, and other people hopefully will share it. Don't discount informal or formal briefings with media. So no matter what market you're in, there's probably a radio station person and maybe a reporter that's covering for the local paper or the regional paper. And those people can be called up and asked to go to coffee. And maybe you don't really have anything to pitch to them right now, but it's just sitting down with them and saying, this is who we are, this is what we do, here's some things that are coming up, can I call you when I have something for you to cover? And media are always looking for story ideas. So I think it's just a matter of asking and going out there and doing it. And ask about the guest editorials. A lot of times people are looking for people to write a guest editorial, and if you're willing to do that, you're filling a spot for them and making it easy for them. Other things to think about in media relations, if you have a morning radio talk show, or if you just have the DJs in the morning doing something in your local radio station, ask if you can come on and talk a little bit about Pick.Click.Give and what your organization is doing. Same thing with morning shows. There's always opportunities for the TV morning shows. They're always looking for guests. And if you keep them informed on what's going on, at some point they're probably going to find a spot for you to get on the air with them. I do a lot of following local media. I'm not really big on proactive Twitter myself, but I follow all the media people in Alaska. And you'd be surprised how many times they hint, I'm working on this story and looking for a source, or does anybody have an idea for a story idea today, or I'm thinking about this, what do you think? If you start to build a relationship with the media and you're helpful to them, even if it's not something that's going to benefit your organization, at some point when you have something that you do want them to do, they're going to go, okay, she helped me out last time, I'm going to help her out this time. So just building that relationship with media through social media, I think, is a really great idea. And you can always invite media to come for a FAM tour just to get familiar with your organization. They are busy people, they don't have a lot of extra time, but if it's something that's important to you and it's important to them to get a background around what it is that you're doing, then all they can do is say no if you ask. And just going and having coffee and talking story ideas, giving them a list of maybe about 4 or 5 things that happen across the year about your organization that they might be interested in covering is a great idea. Asking local media to be on your board or on an advisory panel. Once they sort of get to know your organization, I think they're going to be more likely to then go back to their organization and say, hey, there's a story here, or I think we should do this. So that's always a good idea, and it's something that a lot of times people don't think about. I think statewide there's a whole bunch of calendars that you can go online and post your events, and it's free. All it takes is a little bit of time. So if you have things that are going on, you want to be top of mind all the time, so put your events in those free online calendars and mention that you're a Pick.Click.Give organization somehow in the narrative for that. And you also can, as you're posting on social media, remember that you might be able to tag or share on other people's sites. So if you're doing an event and there's going to be a live radio remote, make sure that then you're also giving them information to post on their social media. So let's say you're doing a big fundraising event and K-Bear Radio is going to be there to do a live something with it. Make sure that you touch base with whoever does their Facebook page and whoever does their Twitter and give them some information that they can use to share on social media to help you, your organization, raise its profile. And another thing is just providing some B-roll or video. Even if you're out far away from Anchorage or Fairbanks or Juneau where the TV stations are, they're always looking for stories that aren't, in their market. So if you're in Southeast Alaska and you have an opportunity to get a little bit of B-roll, and it doesn't have to be high-end footage anymore, they will use videos that you send to them that are, just rough cuts, and they'll take a piece here and a piece there and put something together. So keep that in mind as you're doing things that they might cover, and make it easy for the media to cover you by giving them some B-roll or some video. The great thing about media relations is that you get really great results. When you're on in the newspaper as a story, or if you're a radio story, or if it's something that's media generated, it's going to have a really, really great people are going to believe an ad. Well, they know that you put it together, that you wrote the copy, and that it may or may not be true. But if a reporter does a story about you, people are much more likely to believe the information that's in there. It's great stuff to be able to share. You can say on Facebook, hey, don't believe me, look at this story about us, and let somebody else tell your story for you. So media really is very effective. The return on investment can be really great, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. That's my dog walking around in the background if you're hearing that noise. Sorry. I work from home, and today is the kids are off school day, so this is one of those days that I say is the worst day possible for parents. Is anybody out there that agrees with that? You're probably at work and wondering what your kids are doing if you're in Anchorage right now. So let's talk a little bit about social media, and I think a lot of people have questions about, we're really small, we have some pretty limited resources, and I'm not really a whiz at social media, and so do you really have to do it? I'm hoping to convince you that, yeah, you probably do need to do a little bit of it. You need to keep in mind what the point of your social media is, and there are some tools out there to help you manage it and make it a lot easier. And these are some of the arguments that I think you hear a lot of the time about why you're not going to do social media. And I think we all have heard this before, and most of it's true. You're probably not going to have millions of fans. It is sort of hard at first to try to figure out what you're going to say. Most organizations that are involved in our Pick.Click.Give program don't have dedicated staff to do it right, so it ends up being a one or two person thing, and you're thinking, oh, I don't have time to do that and everything else that I have to do. And it's hard to stay current because the technology keeps changing. It seems like there are updates all the time, and there's new tricks and tools, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to try to argue with you that you just have to pick off a couple of little things and start doing it. And as you start doing it, you'll get the hang of it and just keep on trying. I'm a authorized leading expert for Constant Contact, and if you don't know what that is, I'm going to have a slide in a couple minutes here that talks a little bit more about that. But I do a lot of presentations on behalf of Constant Contact around the state, and they did a survey a few years ago, and within a 5-year time span, they found out that about 10% of small businesses were using social media marketing. After that 5-year period, which I think ended last year, they redid the survey and found that about 87% of small businesses were using social media marketing. So my argument is that all of your competitors or anybody else that's involved in the Pick.Click.Give program is probably on social media, and that's as good a reason as any that you need to be there as well. It's one more place that you do need to be and that you need to be seen on. And these are some statistics just on how social media influences decisions. They feel that 84% of social media users share to show their support for a cause, and that is huge for you. You want other people who support your organization sharing that with your friends and convincing their friends that they also should support your organization. The second one is more related to retail, but 43% of purchase a product shared or favorited by a friend. So anything you can do, if somebody gives to you, if you can make it easy for them to share with their friends that, hey, I just Pick.Click.Gave to friends of pets and you should too, kind of things, it really does work. These are the top social media networks. I think you're probably all familiar with most of them. Pinterest, probably not applicable for a lot of the organizations that are online today, but Instagram is growing like crazy, definitely something you should be on. I know that the teenage and younger 20s, Instagram is probably their #1 social media market. LinkedIn, more of a business side of it, but it's someplace where you probably should have a presence, at least a business page. Facebook, I think, is pretty big in Alaska. And Twitter, it depends. You need to know whether or not the people that you're trying to reach are on Twitter, and there's ways to figure that out. But Twitter definitely is something that people in Alaska are using. I'm not sure they're using it as much as some of the places out in the lower 48, but I don't think Twitter is going away. So if you had to pick one or two of those to do and do it right, it's doing something, right? So what should you be posting? 50% of the content should be interesting and entertaining to your audience. Remember that people use social media to find out what's new and interesting with their friends, family, and businesses they like. Be conversational, ask questions, ask for opinions. People love to talk about themselves. So open that door by being as interactive as you can. You can also brighten their day, share an inspirational quote, an image, an interesting fact, or a fun or funny photo that relates to your business or industry. 30% of the content that you're posting should offer some helpful information. Just think tips, statistics, education, curated content from blogs or news sites. And then finally, the remaining 20% can be about your organization. It can be about calls to action, asking people to take the next step, to go Pick.Click.Give, to register for your event, to read a blog post, to learn about a new product or service or something new about your organization. And keep in mind that it's okay to use calls to action, but not to hammer readers with anything that's too desperate or too pushy. Now, these examples are pretty much something that you can use on whatever social network you use and on multiple social networks if you're using more than one. Keep in mind that you do need to adapt the content for the network you're posting to. So don't just take the same exact post and put it on Twitter and put it on Instagram and put it on Facebook. Just change it a little bit, make sure the caption or text in the post reflects the style of the social media channel that you're on. Why do we do social media? I think the number one thing that you should be trying to accomplish through your social media is trying to build a relationship with people, and you want it to be a two-way relationship, and really you want to get their email address. If you can get their email address, then you can start building that relationship with them and start inviting them to your events, start sending them your newsletter. Once you have their email, you've gotten them to agree that, yes, I want to hear from you, and that is one of the goals of social media. So, and these are just some tips on things that you can do to try to get their email address. And make sure you have a sign-up form app to your Facebook page so that people have a really easy way to engage with you. Create fun posts with a request to subscribe and try using some images to do that. You can include a sign-up form URL in your profile bio on Instagram, and bio pages include a sign-up form URL in profile bios to gather more interested subscribers. I want to talk a little bit about Constant Contact. If you're not using Constant Contact or some other mail platform like MailChimp or something like that, I would really encourage you to go look at it. Constant Contact is kind of a do-it-yourself online marketing or outreach system, and you can use it to create and manage your campaigns. It makes things really easy to keep organized, to get on a schedule, and it's something that you can do yourself. You don't need a graphic designer. You don't need a whole lot of support in doing it. Constant Contact is best known for its email marketing tools and easy to create a mass email like a newsletter or announcement or an update. And you can run special promotions or offers using Constant Contact. But you may not know that you can also do online surveys, create feedback forms for your website or for anything really. You can promote and manage your events using Constant Contact with registration tools, accepting payments, sending out invitations, all of it in one place. It's really built on top of a good contact database so that you can load all your contacts, your members, your stakeholders, your volunteers, your staff, your board, whatever lists you want. You can keep them in various spreadsheets and then, or in your Outlook or Yahoo folders, and then you can upload them very organized and easily into your Constant Contact platform so that your people and your outreach campaigns are all together in one spot. And in case you're wondering, yes, it does cost money, but I think the average bill for using a Constant Contact account for all of that is about $20 to $75 a month, and it depends on how many contacts you have in your different lists. And you can put lists on, take them back off so that you keep the number of lists that you have on your site at a minimal. I just did a big, huge campaign for a client where we actually sent out 2,000 emails, and our bill for that month went way up because we had more than 2,000 contacts in, and then I just took them back out the next month so we didn't have to pay for them again. I use Constant Contact with my clients. I think it's an amazing tool. It's not the only one of its kind, but if you'd like to learn more about Constant Contact, you're encouraged to contact me. I can set you up with a free trial and walk you through sort of how it works. And I also do seminars, and Debbie Rinke is the other Constant Contact person in the state of Alaska who teaches classes on this. So if you want to get on an email list where you can get notified of where we do webinars as well as in-person trainings, and sometimes we do really deep dives into the product just to learn one piece of it or something like that. So if you're interested in learning more about Constant Contact, please let me know. Another thing that we have available for you at Pick.Click.Give is our nonprofit toolkit. If you've been involved with the program in past years, hopefully you're familiar with this. If you're new to Pick.Click.Give, just know that we have a toolkit available for you, and it has things like graphics and support for you to do your public relations, from Facebook profile photos or images. We have website banners, high-resolution vector files to produce a 6-foot banner. You name it, hopefully we have it for you. And if we don't have what you need, you can always call Jason and let him know what you need. He may have to have somebody generate it for you if we don't already have it, but most of what we have is usually up in the toolkit. And the way you find the toolkit is on our website. Go to www.pick.Click.Give.org, and then you want to click on Information for Nonprofits, which is kind of up in the right, top right corner. Information for nonprofits, and then on the left side you'll see this list of things, FAQs, Department of Law reminder, and you'll see that toolkits right there on the left side there. Click on toolkits, and then everything that we have to download there is in the toolkit. Just want to mention that Jason's going to be giving another webinar that's like today's webinar on November 24th at 10 a.m. and he will be rolling out some of the new toolkit items for our 2015-2016 campaign. So be sure and mark your calendar for that. One of the things I'd like to have you consider for your public relations campaign for Pick.Click.Give this year is to come up with your own slogan or your own way of promoting Pick.Click.Give. A lot of organizations have done this, and I think they're doing it really effectively. This is one that I actually helped Make-A-Wish put together 2 years ago, Pick.Click.Give-A-Wish, and we did our whole Pick.Click.Give campaign around that slogan, came up with all kinds of different ways. This was one of the profile photos that we gave to a group of ambassadors who were helping us to spread the word, and so we gave them, I think, 2 or 3 different options of this profile photo that they could put up on their Facebook page to help us make sure that people were considering giving to Make-A-Wish. So anything that you can do to sort of set up your own little campaign is great, and always be thinking who's the public you're trying to reach, what effect are you trying to have on them. You're trying to get them to Pick.Click.Give to your organization. You know, set yourself a goal. Hey, we're gonna raise our donations this year 10% or whatever you think is realistic, 20%, and give yourself a timeline of how you're going to do that. Just a quick reminder that you should have a login and password to get into your profile on the Pick.Click.Give page. So when people go in and start looking for who they're going to give to, this is where they're going to end up, and they're going to go look at your organization and see, you know, is this an organization that I might want to give to? So give some thought to what's on your profile page. Make sure that if you have Facebook and Twitter that you have the share filled in so that people can click on that and go and like your page. Make sure that you have a good contact number there. I think you want to have a description of what is it that you're going to do with the money that somebody's going to give to you, and make it compelling. Make it so that somebody reads that and says, yeah, I support that. This is an organization that I might want to actually Pick.Click.Give to. So you can update that at any time throughout the campaign. The only thing you can't change is once we've uploaded you onto the site, as far as your name, you can't change the name of your organization. So I know Jason gets a lot of phone calls from people saying, oh, we need to change our contact person, or we need to do this, or we need to do that. You should have the ability to make all those changes yourself through your profile. So just make sure that you take advantage of that. Think about other organizations that you might be able to collaborate with. Some of you may or may not be familiar with Bethel this year had, I think, 6 or 7 organizations that were involved in Pick.Click.Give. They came together as a group and decided that they were going to do a bunch of things as a group together. Each organization got a video. They also did their own double your dividend kind of sweepstakes. If anybody gave to an organization in that region, those 7 organizations or 6 or 7 organizations, they were entered into a separate campaign to win $1,000. So there's lots of things that you can do if you pool your funds or pool your, uh-oh, I lost my spot here. Hang on. There we go. So think about who else sort of is in the program. Maybe everybody that's in Ketchikan wants to get together and do a Pick.Click.Give campaign together. I know that the youth serving organizations in the Anchorage area all got together and they did t-shirts and participated in a parade in downtown Anchorage. They did some signage together. They did a couple of newsletters together. So if you have really limited resources, think about who else is out there that's also trying to leverage Pick.Click.Give donations, and how could I maybe share some costs with them to be more effective, to get our word out and do something that we can all benefit from. So just keep that in mind when you're sort of figuring out what your strategy is going to be for the coming year. And just ask. Your Pick.Click.Give program director is here to help. Jason, I think, responds to calls within a day. Anytime that you need something, you can shoot an email. If you don't find what you need in the toolkit, just call us. And we really do believe that all of your successes are a success for all. So no matter what you're doing, you know, make sure that you take advantage of it. It looks like we've had some questions online, and Jason's answering those over on the other side. But we're getting to the end here, and we'll have plenty of time for some questions. I mentioned that I think public relations is one of those things that you constantly just have to continue to learn, and there's no doubt that I think I learn something new, you know, every week. So I wanted to share some of the resources that I follow, that if you feel like, oh, public relations is not my strong suit, it's not the only part of my job, but I really do know that I need to do these things. This top one, Bulldog Reporter, the Daily Dog, or PR News Views and Resources, or the PR Daily News Feed, those are all, I think, daily newsletters, or maybe one of them is weekly, but all kinds of just links to articles or new things that you should know about social media and public relations in general. There is Public Relations Society of America, and PRSA.org has 2 publications that they do. If you're a member of PRSA, you get the PR Tactics, and that's like a monthly newspaper kind of style of what's the latest in PR tactics. And then there's a PR Strategist, and I think that comes out quarterly, and that's more of a magazine style. And if you go on PRSA.org, I think you can look at those publications even if you're not a member. There is a PRSA Alaska chapter, and they have an Anchorage and Fairbanks chapter meetings monthly. The one in Anchorage is the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and typically has a different professional development speaker. There also is the American Marketing Association. I know they meet in Anchorage. I'm not sure if there's a branch in Fairbanks, but they also have monthly speakers to help you with your professional development. Reagan's Daily Headlines is one that I read pretty constantly. If you're trying to find out ideas or trends or things in giving, I think the Chronicle of Philanthropy is a great publication. I get a daily email with, and it has maybe 5 or 6 different articles that you might be able to read. Some of them you have to have the paid subscription, but I would say the majority of the articles on Chronicle of Philanthropy, you can sign up to receive the emails, and you don't have to have the paid subscription. And it'll show right on an article, right before you click on it, it'll tell you whether or not you have to be a paid subscriber or not to read it. And most of them, you don't have to be a paid subscriber to read them. Mashable.com is another great website. Their whole thing is informing, inspiring, and entertaining the digital generation. They have one tab on Mashable.com that's all about social media. That's where I find out what the latest things are. If Facebook is going to make a change, if Twitter's doing something different or whatever, that's where I always go to get really good information about when is it going to be rolled out, how do you use it, how do you get more information about it. I think Mashable is just a really, really great place to get information quickly. And a few individuals that I follow, and there's lots of different people that you could be following, but I think these people are really great. Kelly at Solo PR Pro, so if you Google Solo PR Pro, you'll find her. She has, I think it's maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, she sends out a newsletter. One of the things that's really cool about that is she has 2 or 3 new tools that you can use. So if you're looking for a new app, things that roll out that you might be able to use, she always has some really good suggestions about that. Aliza Sherman is on my team. She lived in Alaska for about 7 years, and she currently lives in Yuma, Arizona, but is trying to get back to Alaska. Her husband's trying to get a job back here. She wrote the Social Media Engagement for Dummies book. She's got about 11 books out there. She's really sharp on blogging, on what the latest apps are to use. She's really good at social media, so she's somebody that I follow. Her company is called Media Egg, but I think if you Google Aliza Sherman, you can get on her email list. Shanali Burke is another person who talks a lot about measuring public relations and how you can set goals and then show that you've achieved them. Shanali's been up here to speak before, and I think she's really good. She does also a lot of seminars that you can sign up for that are free. I'm getting ready to do one in the next couple weeks that she's offering, and it's totally free. Ann Wiley is another person who's been up to Alaska, I think, twice. She is probably, if you feel like you need to work on your writing skills or just be better at that, Ann Wiley is the one. She sends out a newsletter. I think hers is monthly as well. Ann Wiley's Writing Tips. I think she's great, and she has lots of tips about how you should write differently for different mediums. So she has just specific stuff on what's the best way to write for the web, what's the best way to write for my Facebook page, how do I do a compelling email tag or an email title so that somebody will actually click on my email and open it. So I think Ann Wiley is really worth following as well. I think that promoting Pick.Click.Give is one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever had, and I hope that you'll agree with me that it's worth making some effort. You know, really, what's not to like about helping good causes, raising important funds for people, pets, the arts, or other causes that really need and deserve our support. So I hope that as you're sort of making your plan for how you're going to work with Pick.Click.Give in the coming year, that you will make your public relations a priority. And the reason, because it's really working. I don't know if you all knew that we're continuing to grow this program. We started in 2009. We had very little time to get the campaign up and running, but look at the growth rate each year. So keep up the great work. It really is working. I think that the communications that happen with Pick.Click.Give are a really important part of that success story. We've continued to grow the program steadily, and hopefully that trend is going to continue. And I think we'll open it up to questions. I see that the chat box has been going crazy, so you guys are going to have to help me fill in here on where we're at on the question and answers. But that's great. I'm glad that we're stimulating some conversation.
Thanks, Kathy. This is Kate. Looks like Jason has been answering some of the questions here in the chat box. Maybe a few more left unanswered. But if anyone else has questions, please go ahead and chat them or unmute yourself.
Yeah, it looks like there were questions about the double your dividend and whether we're going to be doing that again. And Jason did say that we are planning to do it again this year. I think we all agree that it's been pretty successful. And I don't know if you guys knew that this year we actually really improved. A lot of people were Pick.Click.Giving and remaining anonymous, but in order to be a part of the double your dividend, they had to disclose their name, obviously, because they can't win unless they disclose who they are. We think that that really helped to encourage people to give us their name and to not donate anonymously. Jason, I can't remember what the number was, but I think we were up significantly in the number of people that were willing to give us their name, and that's really important because as you want to build a relationship with the people who are giving to your organization, you do need to know who they are. So that's a little piece of double your dividend that you may not have known was one of the objectives, and we were pretty successful last year. We're hoping to continue that. So double your dividend is an offering that Pick.Click.Give organizes where we're telling donors for every time that you, if you agree to Pick.Click.Give and to give us your name, you'll be entered in a drawing to get a double your dividend. And about, I think it was the end of October, in October, we announced this year's double your dividend winners. We had 17 people that won a double your dividend, and it was really cool because people from all over the state won. We had people in Fairbanks, Bethel, Willow, down in Southeast. We had a whole lot of, and it just totally happened that way that a lot of people won from all over statewide, and I think more than half of the people that won were kids, which is really awesome. And a lot of their parents were going to put that double dividend in their college savings account or do something, you know, really special for their kids. So I was thrilled when I got to see who the people were that won the double dividend this year. Are there security issues in giving your membership list to a business such as Constant Contact or MailChimp? I know that there is an agreement with Constant Contact that they will not use your contacts for anything that they're doing unless you give them permission to do it. You do have to actually have permission from the people that you're using their email address. So when you go in to upload your list, once you upload the list, right before you click yes, it's going to ask you, do you have permission from these people to use their email? So yes, when you put out a sheet at an event and ask people for emails, you should definitely let them know we are going to add you to our email list, and then they're consenting to that. So, but you shouldn't go just call a bunch of email addresses from people that have never heard from you and make that a list. It's spamming. It is against the law, so you should have people's permission. And that's what's great. You can put something on your website that says sign up for our newsletter. It automatically gets added to your Constant Contact list. you don't have to do anything yourself, and they've self-selected and given you permission to use their email address. Jason, are you there? Did you want to answer the question about 17 awards? So maybe he's just available on the web, because it looks like he's answering that question, that we'll be awarding 10 double your dividends for 2016. So we don't actually award until October, because that's when we finally get the final list of people who gave. So it takes a really long, there's a long lag time between people filing for their PFD March 31st before we actually announce the winners of the double your dividend. That's why it takes so long. Are there any worries about a lower PFD impacting Pick.Click.Give donations this year? You know, I don't know that we have any hard facts as to why the number has continued to grow for donations. I think people heard a couple years ago that the dividend was going to be really low, and we had that concern, and it didn't pan out that way. So I think maybe people's mindset and how much am I going to get and how much am I willing to share might be a part of it, but we've continued to grow despite the fact that the dividend's been lower or higher, and that doesn't seem to have had effects. So, you know, I think in your messaging, we've always said, hey, just if everybody just gave $25, look what we could do. So to me, as long as the dividend program is healthy and people are getting a check, you know, it's our job to convince them that they should give, and even if they only give a little, it makes a huge difference. So that's kind of the talking points on that. I guess, yes, there's always a risk that at some point this is going to fall off, but right now about 6.1, 6.2% of the people who give or who file for a PFD online give to Pick.Click.Give. So I think there's still tons of room for growth in the program, no matter what the amount of the dividend. I just want to make sure everybody has my contact information. Hold on, got to put my clicker back on my presentation here. You're welcome to email me at any time. That's my website there. I'd encourage you to go follow my company Facebook page, because I do share a lot of public relations advice on there. You're also welcome to call me anytime. That's my cell phone. Jason also is available by email and by telephone. We also have an 800 number that you can call at any time to talk to Jason. We're here to help you. We're here to support you, and we really appreciate everything that you do, even if it's just little things throughout the campaign. I really do believe they make a difference in the end.